I was naked, but the shirt is on the floor, so I'm going to put it on just because I feel like it makes sense for this video. I was gonna call it a movie, but whatever. I had a weird dream. Justice League. I had a weird dream, in about like Batman versus Superman. Like I was at dinner with this woman who I think was my agent or something, representing me, and she got me a meeting with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, and we were at this really fancy restaurant with a very high ceiling, unusually high. Actually, it felt kind of like a steeple or something. Anyways, we're at dinner, and I'm interviewing those two about like Batman versus Superman and the franchise, the upcoming films, and the upcoming Justice League stuff and whatnot. And like, first of all, I was mad because as we're doing this interview, I keep shoveling food in my mouth, and I keep like drooling, and just food is flying everywhere, and I'm upset with myself, and I'm like, and they're being so nice to me and not mentioning anything. Like I'm sitting right across from Ben, and I could see that he's disgusted, but like he doesn't flinch. He acts like a professional, and I'm not. And so I'm like, get it together, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm taking charge. This is my dream. I'm not gonna let you make a fool of me, brain. And so, yeah, I get in there, and I'm like, because the whole time, like, it was me in my body, but it almost felt like I was sitting at another table just watching all of this happen, because like I had no control over what I was doing and saying, and here I am looking and sounding like an idiot. So at some point in time, I'm like, fuck this, and I like force my way in there, and then the whole conversation basically restarts, and I get to have a discussion with Batman and Superman about Batman and Superman and the DC franchises. I don't remember the entire conversation, but I do remember that like an interview slowly turned into a lecture, and I start telling them just my thoughts like on comic books, superhero movies in general. And like I apologized to Ben because I was like, I'm sorry for doubting you. You gave an amazing performance, especially considering the really shitty script you had to work with. I shouldn't have doubted you because, like, it's years later. There are some athletes who they'll take 10 years before they ever really start making a name for themselves. They'll be in the league for a decade before anyone really knows who they are. And then, it's acting. It takes time sometimes to grow and develop who you are. And Ryan Reynolds, he was in the shittiest DC movie ever made, and yet still somehow managed to come back and make Deadpool, which is arguably the best. It's still one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. I was about to call it a superhero movie, but he's an anti-hero. And so Ben on the opposite side, starting with a really shitty Marvel movie that should never have been made. Which once again, looking back at it, it's not like he was the worst part about that movie. There was so many things that went wrong there. And so then coming back years later to now with DC, he did an amazing performance as Batman, and started with shitty writing. There's very little you can do about when you're walking from a bad script. I feel like the casting was pretty amazing when you consider that. The entire film was just so rushed, and they were trying to force like 3 different films into this one. And yeah, I gave him this entire lecture about how Heath Ledger was the definitive Joker, and Mark Hamill's the only one who could even hope to rival him, and the entire Nolan trilogy is overrated, and how Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight overshadows everything that's wrong with all 3 of those movies. And it's the only reason why any of them are worth sitting through is because of his performance, and how I feel like Keaton is, at least for now, still the definitive Batman, but Ben could make a push for that. And long story short, it was fun. Like I just sat there lecturing Batman and Superman on how to really be Batman and Superman, and how to make the DC universe not suck. It was fun. I got shit to do.